So basically what we're saying is it's easy to get into this market, right? Is it easy? Is it something easy that we can quite well get into the market? Because if you have that specialist kind of skill, you work with specialist people, then you can get into this consulting area, right? So we need to work, we need to actually, our people are the most important asset here, right? Because in order to combat competition, we need to think of well, investing in our people. People have the best knowledge and they have the cutting edge knowledge as well. And then we look at what other value added things can we give to our customers, right? Other than what we give straightforward, right? What we give them, is there anything else that we can offer them? What do you think? What sort of customers do they have? And is there any way that we can give any added services?
Yeah, we can provide maintenance for the wind farms.
Mm-hmm.
So we just finish off with the construction and project management of wind farm,
Yes.
but beyond that we don't do anything. So we can provide maintenance because they know how to operate, so they should know how to maintain as well.
Correct. That's a good one, because now I'm looking at, if you guys have heard of this concept called blue ocean strategy, what we are looking at is I'm going to make the competition irrelevant, right? That's what it is. I don't mind whoever is there in the market. I'm going to provide a better service, right? So better value addition. So like you said, Jai, which is correct, I go into my customer and finish that activity and get out. It's more of a transaction, right? Now what can I do to have a long-term relationship with this customer? There is plenty of opportunities, right? And this type of customer requires people like us, because we are specialists in this nature, so in this kind of area. So what we can do is also have long-term maintenance contracts with them, then also give them due to technology, things are changing. We update the customers as well, saying, look, this is something new that's come up. Maybe you want to explore, maybe look at new ways of doing things in a different way. So there are plenty of areas that you can look at to improve the customer's experience, right? So always what we need to look at is, from a value chain perspective, how can we improve the value chain of our customers, right? Investment in new innovations, right? Risk factor. AIN is always keen to develop new existing lines of business, but it can also prove disruptive to ongoing business activities. This is quite true, because what we are looking at is, every time innovation, new things coming up is going to disrupt our current operations. How would you manage that? What can you do?
We make our organization a learning organization,
Mm-hmm.
where they're constantly like anticipating change, that something or the other might change, so the employees are very flexible. Plus it mentioned in the beginning that AEN were early adopters of new technology.
Yes.
So in the past 16 years they must have changed it more than 10 times or 12 times.
Mm-hmm.
So the employees must be very used to change, and they are used to such disruptions. They're like, it's a part of my routine. I'm used to it, so they'll be very pro towards change.
Right. Any other views? Any other views? Should we have a different org structure? Is that something that you would consider?
Then the communication won't be there. If we go into division or functional structure, the communication will not be present.
Now I'm looking at, Jay, for the operational, there's standard operations that's happening. Should we keep it going as is, without any disruptions? And should I keep this new investment in new innovative things separately, right? And so that there's less disruption to the new to my current operations. Should I do that? What are the positives and negatives in that?
Well, you move your most specialized people to a new research or development or this innovation department, then you lose their expertise in handling existing clients. And one issue is the research or the innovations they're going to take. It might take very long to be fruitful. And by that time, AEN might run into losses if they don't utilize such expertise. So a matrix structure is currently very useful for them. And if you move them away to a specialized division for research, it will be counterproductive for them.
Any other views?
Yes, I have a slightly different view, and I didn't thought it before you brought it up. See, first of all, yes, R&D I think could be a useful department as a separate department, which may be directly reporting to the CEO or some other senior person. There are two benefits of it. One is they continuously, of course, innovate on their existing products. Secondly, from a financial perspective, I haven't seen all the financials as of now, but since this company is growing, I assume that there will be some positive bottom line, and all these R&D expenses they support in the tax benefits. So if they invest in R&D to improve their existing products, develop new products, they can of course get more cutting edge competitiveness, and secondly they can get the benefits of these R&D expenses in the tax.
Right. I want you to have a look at explore Google, right? Because Google came up with they spun off a new company, ABC, right? To do their innovative new things. Now it's two different schools of thought, right? Where you say, well, if I'm going into constant innovation, constant new things, the way the company behaves and operates needs to be different. If part of the company has basically operational activities to manage, then you need to have sustainable, efficient ways of managing things, right? So it is a balance, and it's how you basically portray it and say, what is the best for the company. So look at Google and the reasoning behind why they separated their company ABC, right? There is a logic behind it, because it is the innovation. We are not talking about innovation just once or twice. This is constantly we are looking at innovative things happening. So should we look at it differently? Should we look at it as an organization have because the mindset of the leaders and the ones who are looking at it should be a bit different to that of when you're running a standard organization and operation, right? So let's look at that as well when we come next time. Any other thoughts on that before we go to new technologies? Right. New technologies again. Of course, this is constantly, because constant change, new technologies come in. As a result, we are looking at change management, new projects happening, and you need to again look at you shouldn't replace something just because for the sake of a new technology. What is the return on investment? is there a compelling need for this kind of change? We need to look at that, right? Government funding, it has decreased over the last 15 years. Wow. Grants and tax incentives have been reduced dramatically in Brisbane. This reduces the incentive for businesses and individuals to invest in new technology. Now, what is the proportion of government funding, right? And like one of you have mentioned, are we able to reduce the price of this our technology so that we can match those the funding that was given, right? This is another way of thinking and saying, is it possible? Can we do that? What does it take? Is it different material? Is it a new way of doing things, right? Are there any other things that we need to think about? Any views from you guys? Now, protesters, this is a risk, right? This is working with the PR team and how we can work with the society at large, right? How will you work with the society at large with these protesters? How will you communicate to them? What do you think?
Actually, they can increase the awareness, and the PR has a big role in that area.
Mm-hmm.
They can make many PRs in the media and the press about the importance of green and about the environmental and the bad impact of the oil and gas industry. And I think they can focus in that area.
Right. Okay. Anyone else? Thank you.
You can also tell them that just because the wind turbine is unsightly doesn't mean that the benefits are greater than that. I mean, doesn't mean that it's the only problem. The benefits are much greater than that. So you can communicate the benefits for wind farms, and that unsightly thing is just a minor prick.
Right. Okay. Anyone else? Right, something else that they can work with is actually work, when it comes to PR, you work with celebrities, right? This we've seen the company that I worked in Australia, oil and gas. So there were lots of protesters, a lot of protesting going on about gas, the issues that come up with that. The water ponds and etc., what it does to the environment. And what they did was they're crazy about their Aussie soccer, and what they did was got a guy who's a captain who's very, very famous, and there's a lot of very charismatic guy. What they did was worked with him, and he was the spokesperson, right? He was the ambassador. So that actually was a good thing. What they did was took this guy across Australia, talking about the advantages and how it is done. I mean, he has no science degree, he's not an engineer, nothing like that, but people believed him more than any engineer could ever explain these things to them, right? So it was quite a success because the campaign, I mean, he was there on TV, he was there on all kinds of social media as well, and of course face to face in different kind of town hall meetings where they conducted communication to the public. So that's another way that you can look at communicating with public, where you need to have a good strong personality, a good celebrity who can communicate, right? Legal liability, we're exposed to an increasing volume of claims associated with the services that we provide. Okay, this is a serious thing. What's going on? What do you think? What do you think is happening?
There are problems with their consulting services, that they might provide incorrect services, and the customers have, or the clients have sued them for wrongful advice. And thus the company needs to be 10 times more careful or improve their expertise and training so that such claims can be reduced in the future.
Right. So what we're saying is, is that the only way that we can manage it? What other way can we manage this risk? What you said was training, recruitment. What other ways that we can do this? Quality control. Anything else?
Create our own PR, our own legal team for handling such cases.
So another thing would be, immediately you need to have a PR associated, linked to this. As soon as you are getting sued, you need to, because it does get, it comes into public eye, and you need to come up with a response pretty fast, right? But also you need to have insurance, right? If you're able to get insurance, because your professional insurance should be able to cover it. So you need to look at what insurances are available to mitigate this kind of risks. Security and quality of service. Third parties may attempt to disrupt, damage our projects. Malicious damage can be motivated by criminal intent or simply a desire for notoriety. What do you think of this?
Can we go back to the previous point? You were talking about the PR.
Yes, the legal
what about
liability. Because as soon as, see, you get sued, let's look at Volkswagen, right? They got sued. They said because of their environmental claims that they were saying, and there was something else that they got sued, and it was a big thing that came in the press, right? Even if it's right or wrong, whatever it is, right, you need to have a response and immediately go to press with it. Yeah, so the PR team needs to be on top of things like this. How to respond. Yeah, how to respond is very important. We said about security and quality of service. What do you think? Again, we will look at insurances, right? And also you need to have have cameras, and then there has to be some kind of security, right, put in place, because you have implemented it, whatever it is. And now otherwise, the other thing is, once you complete the project, you sign off, and you need, in the contract it should say you're not responsible thereafter. Whoever is managing and operating should be involved and managing that aspect of it, right? So you can include it into your contract as well, and then have insurance on top of it. Yeah. The last one relates to AEN was founded by 4 individuals who continue to provide significant input. So they heavily rely on these 4 people. What if they leave, right? How can we work with that void? And what are your thoughts on that?
Here we bring in the knowledge management systems.
Yeah. And
so that helps avoid the void.
Okay. Another thing would be you need to plan for succession, right? So if somebody leaves, there has to be clear succession planning in place in order to manage this, right? We don't see that right now, but this is something that you can talk about as well, right? This will come into your people aspect of the competency and leadership aspect of the competency as well, because just having these 4 people, there's high risk to the organization, right? If they leave, something happens to them, 2 of them go away, whatever it is, it's going to impact the shareholders straight away, right? Because it will impact the business. Yeah. Now, corporate social responsibility report. What do you think of this? Anything that jumps into mind that you want to say, yeah, these are the clear things that I see?
They don't do much for the community. It's mostly about carbon and changing their office in particular. There's nothing for community funded projects.
What about others?
So
what
that
do you guys
aspect
think?
of CSR is lacking.
What about others? What do you guys think?
Reducing the use of carbon itself, I feel it's a CSR.
Okay.
Because
And
most of... Yeah, go ahead.
no, please finish. Sorry.
Say almost like 50% or something of their office is controlled based on alternative energy. So seems like that is a good thing which they are doing to the society in large.
Right. So what we can say is, what are the activities that they do? They do invest in the research and development aspects of it, right? So they do research and development. So there's a lot of investment that goes there. And what you say is they also control their own carbon footprint. Yeah. But to Jay's point, if from a society point of view, what if you are saying what it's not enough, what do you think that they can do? What do you think they can do more?
I think for that there was a point that many of the birds get killed because of the wind turbines. So if they can, they cannot, either they somehow make it no-fly zone for the birds by putting some nets, and if that is practically impossible, then at least open some small habitats for the birds where the existing birds, and they can just say that if 10 birds have been killed, we are at least breeding 20 birds separately somewhere. So not compensating for life in that sense, but somehow reducing the rage of the people there.
What else?
We can give free consultation service to the government, especially in the alternative power programs.
Yeah. So also they can think of, they have a lot of expertise within them, right? So your free consultation is good idea, but also look at, I don't know whether this the country, whether there are areas where you can offer services to communities. If it is let's say low socioeconomic area, and they can improve basically the life of those people by offering something good like alternative energy, right? The same thing can be done. They can reach out to different countries, and they can work with certain countries, certain villages, whether it's Africa or South America or in Asia, to certain projects where they give their expertise on how to do things and using alternate energy, and this is where they can really contribute to society within not only their area, not only their country, but across, because according to their mission statement, they're talking about serving the world, right? Not a particular area. So that is a good step. Any other views? Prabin, you raised your hand. Yes.
To add, we can take the opinion of the expert how to prevent the birds, how to save their lives, because there are certain expertise with them. They can advise us better how to save the life, and we can implement.
Right. So what? Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So that way we can prevent wildlife prevention will be done, and we should hire only those. We should get the supply from only those suppliers who are consuming the not consuming the fossil fuel.
Okay, right. So what you're mentioning is even going in from a suppliers. So you're enforcing the suppliers to their carbon footprint as well. So they're
Yes.
looking at that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it would be challenging, but that's another way of looking at things and saying,
From from CSR point of view,
yeah,
and in any way we can add something to the local community, like uh, compensating them in other way by providing subsidized electricity, etc.
okay. So this article is quite interesting. Not in my backyard. What do you, as a summary, what did you get of this? Anyone?
I had a point to add for that CSR.
Yeah, go on.
What if AEN invest money in building colleges and universities just for the sole purpose of programs in alternative energy, like a bachelor's degree or whatever in alternative energy, and they help these people from, like you mentioned, the lower social economic classes, like free grants to such people, and there is also a vocational skill development that they become experts in alternative energy. And we can utilize the current engineers to devote some of their time in such philanthropic causes. Again, they'll feel that self-actualization will help in that. And this government, what do you say, AEN will also help in the form of branding, that the colleges are spread across Breezeland and maybe across other parts of the country if they wish to expand. So it will be good PR for them, and it's a way to give back to society.
Right.
What would you think?
Yeah, I mean that's a good idea, and I'll give you two stories to this. One story is when I'm not sure, because there's this Australian movie star called Hugh Jackman. You guys, I mean, he's Australian background, but he's a mega star. Guys might know him. He is a contributor to World Vision. So previously he had just been contributing to this particular person's just giving money to World Vision. That was it. And then what happened was, he said, I really want to go to this place and have a look at this person, meet this person that I have been contributing towards his livelihood and things like that. So he met this guy, and he happened to be a coffee farmer. So then he worked one day. He was in Ethiopia. He went to Ethiopia. He worked one day with this guy. His name was Dukali. So he worked with this guy Dukali, and in the coffee farm, and he said, I really don't know how this guy works, because I mean, he just could not work at the same capacity as this Dukali was doing. So when he went, there were certain things he observed. One of the things was the energy, what they were using. So what they were using was just sticks and some firewood, and burning the wood, and these guys were in a small hut that was creating a lot of problem, right? And it's affecting their lungs and things like that. So that was one issue that he saw. And then the next one that he saw was how they sell the product, the coffee beans. So when he got back to New York, what he did was he built, he had a coffee, he got into a coffee shop, he bought a coffee shop, he set up a coffee shop, and then he said, I'm gonna import these products from Ethiopia directly to his shop, and it was called Dukali's Dream. And one of the things that he also did was he got engineers to come in and just basically look at, it was a very simple thing, use the biogas fuel and get alternate energy instead of using wood fire, right? This was a very simple thing that they could do, but people were suffering for years and years, not knowing how to use that alternate energy. So that's a really a knowledge gap, and it can be done so quickly. You do not need huge amounts of money either. So to your point, there is exactly, there'll be plenty of stories like that people have done. So this is a very good positive way of impacting someone's life, and impacting not only their life but also that village, right? And Sugata Mitra is another guy who's got TED Prize, I believe, and he's inspired me at no end. If you get a chance, watch it. Not Sugata Mitra, there's another guy, I can't remember, another Indian guy, Sugata Mitra, and there's another Indian guy. What he does is he actually empowers the village women to build solar things, right? And then really improve the lives of those villagers. So I will send you these two links. It's amazing, because just watching it, you understand the power that someone's knowledge, you just impart that knowledge and it changes lives of a lot of people. So to cut a long story short, it is something that they can do, and this will have a lot of benefit. Yeah. So
also
yeah,
here is that sometimes opening a college or a educational course may become a bit over budgeted from a CSR perspective. I don't know everywhere, but in India it's just like government pushes to companies to have 2% of their bottom line into the CSR projects.
Yeah.
Alternatively, but it's a good idea proposed, and we can do it like this, that if the companies offer or invite school students on an on-site of a wind farm, just to give them exposure or education how these things work. So it do the two things. One is, of course, it's a CSR activity of promoting knowledge, sharing knowledge with the community, and second, it's an indirect campaigning and awareness generation, that why don't you go to your house and parents and tell how these things works and how effective they are in reducing pollution and stuff like that. So yeah, that could be also a CSR activity.
Yeah, definitely. So very quickly, because I want you to do at least one question, now there are a couple of articles, right? It's about the protesters. You can see what's happening there. We won't go to much detail here, but you see there is on one side it's good alternate energy, there's a good side to it, but also there are issues that we need to face, like the protesters and their viewpoints. They have different viewpoints. How do we manage that, right? I think there are 3 articles here. 4. Now then we have the grant program, right? What does it, so they have given a full page to the grant program, right? What do you read into this? So here again they talk about how these guys
research is a very critical part.
Yeah, they work with the universities, right? So there is a big linkage between the university and the company, right? And in that case, you will see maybe there are other competitors also doing the same thing. So you're not the only one, right? You have to bear that in mind. But they have been working with the universities, and that provides a lot of input from these universities to AEN as well. And how does the sponsorship work? How does the accounting work, right? Is another area that I will get Kumar to explain to you, and to say, how does this how does this whole thing look from an accounting perspective, taxation perspective as well, right? Any other comments here?
How do we respond to the protesters who have occupied the site?
Right. So if somebody's occupied the site, let's go into that. They're protesting about the huge wind farm being proposed at Bree Lake Forest Park. The park has been bought by a consortium businessman. Okay. Now, how will you work with this? Tell me the models that you will use first, because I need a structure first.
Well, we use Mendelow's matrix to identify the key stakeholders. The first one is the local people. We have already got the local government with us because we got permission for such projects. So they'll be in the keep satisfied box because they have high power but low interest. But the local protesters, since they've occupied our site, they have some sort of power, not too high, but it's still high, and we need to either compromise with them and come down to some agreement or some negotiation where we tell them that we might reduce the number of wind turbines, or we'll do an afforestation project with every tree we cut down.
Right. So what is the root cause for this particular protest? They're saying there is natural beauty, there is hiking that they do, and there's nature trails. So we are destroying that.
Yeah.
And there is wildlife, variety of wildlife as well. So we are destroying this whole thing, right? And now there are businessmen who've come into this thing, and they are working because they're very happy about it. They bought the parkland now, but you're the one who's you're the consultant, right, to this whole thing. So from that angle, one thing you need to see is actually, is it a wrong thing that they're doing? Okay. Is it something that's not right? Have they taken over an area which is quite good, and it's a nature, it's very nature oriented, it's a nature park. If you lose it, we're really going to lose a lot of good stuff. Is that what's happening, right? So you need to look into it quite critically. It can be a business that you want to move away from even, right? The second part we need to think about it is well, these protesters actually, are they making a big noise for nothing, right? Is it then you need to go into negotiations, right? So because at one point, say for example, in Australia, there is a place called the Rocks, right? The Sydney Rocks, which is just opposite the Opera House. It's historic, and there's some really nice area that is. It's got some old houses and things like that. So what some of the businesses, along with the politicians, what they wanted to do is flatten that whole area and build huge apartment complexes, right? From a commercial aspect, perfect, but from a history and beauty aspect, that was not a good thing. So the politicians were willing to do it. There were businessmen who were interested to do it, but then there was a lot of backlash from the community, right? And it was stopped. So similarly, you need to be careful what this is all about, because you're the consultant. You're getting into it. You have been engaged as a consultant, but even as a consultant, you need to be, you may lose the business, but it might be better to stay away rather than get into an area where it's not ethical. Right? This is where that the questions, the dilemma comes through, and then you need to decide, well, is it ethical or not?
Okay, so it is better to lose a business and then maintain your reputation than go after an
Exactly.
extra bit of money.
Correct. Because I mean, once gone, it's gone, right? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you need to think of that as well.
Okay, so here we consider the greater good instead of our own commercial interest.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Now, I want to actually go into a question. Any other questions from you guys?
Just to confirm one thing, I think you might have already discussed it, but just to confirm, is that if someone is protesting for not having a wind farm maybe at the back of their house or estate, we are making an ethical choice by saying that no, we want to do this thing rather than damaging an environment by going for another source of energy. So, and they are somewhere, of course they are legal but not super ethical. So can we put our stand very, very strongly that we will not let this harness? It is really not about making money, but it is largely about protecting the environment as well.
I didn't get your question. I didn't understand your question.
So suppose, like, I'm just referring to this not in my backyard
Yes.
stuff. So if a bunch of protester comes in and they say that, hey, we don't want a wind farm at back of our house or estate.
Yeah.
Of course, and we are saying that we really want to have this because it is perfect for the wind farms, and this is really not for us to make the money, but also because it is an environmental ethical decision that, I mean, we are protecting environment. This is the best place to generate maximum energy because wind is perfect, location is perfect, stuff like that. So if we take the stand, if we in the strategic answers, if the company takes the stand against such protesters and they fight or they protest back that no, we will make the wind farm here, is it a wrong business strategy, or is it okay to cover behind ethics as well here and keep pushing for such projects?
The thing is, you need to negotiate with your other parties, right? So I don't know whether you guys have seen how big these wind farms are. These one of these monumental things, right? They're massive. One is huge, and they make a big noise as well. So it's not like you can have it in your backyard, literally. It has to be quite far away because it does make quite a bit of noise. So it's not something. It has to be quite a bit away from your premises, but it will be in a big field. So well, the thing is, you need to understand what they are saying, the reasoning behind it, and also experience. If they say there is noise, it's not unsightly, how will you work with them on this, right? You need to reason out, and also the government will come in to work with you on this, right? You need to have government support as well to work with this. So it is a case of a negotiation and seeing how you work with them. But like I said, the previous example is where if you're going through a nature trail and things like that, it's very touch and go, because is it really worth it? Yeah.
About the noise,
Mm-hmm.
there was this thing in one of the books where airports are too close to home and they do soundproofing or sound glazing for the houses nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Can we adopt the same strategy for wind turbines?
Could be, yeah, could be. It's something, because there is a big noise. I have been to a wind farm, where there is wind farms. There is a big noise.
Okay, because they don't mention anything about soundproofing in the pre-scene.
Yeah,
so
there isn't.
I was wondering if it's feasible.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, it's not it's not ugly, but it's a person. For me, it's not ugly, an ugly thing, but it depends, how the person who looks at it, how they see it. Maybe it's all currently it's painted white. I don't know, is there a reason that they paint it white? If it's in the forest or something like that, they want to put things, can they make it green, right, so that you camouflage it, in a different color. So these are things that you need to discuss as well.
And so one more question related to this is more industry knowledge, that if there is a wind farm in say 10 acres of land, there is of course plenty of land empty. So can people do agriculture on the land, at the same land?
I'm not sure about this, whether they can do or not. I'm not sure. Sorry. Yeah. But I have not seen, the places where I have seen, I can't remember seeing any produce there. No, I can't remember seeing it. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Any others? I have 7 minutes, so I want to give at least one question. I thought I'd be ambitious, give you guys 2 questions. Let me quickly put up my question. The questions will be in your Dropbox, right? So what I want you to do is right now do a very quick draft, the answer plan, but also then start writing longer answers. Yeah, 1 second. Right, I'm going to share my screen with you. So once you finish reading it, let me know, because I need to go take you to the next slide.
I'm done.
Okay, so I'm going to the next slide. So this is in your pre-scene, so I will not stay here for long, because you can look at this. And let's go to the question itself. So I'll give you 10 minutes, right? What I would want you to do is basically give me write an answer plan, and maybe I'll have just enough time to go through one person's answer.
Yeah, it said something about the stock market. We are not listed. So what should we do?
treat it as the shareholders only the shareholders.
Okay.
And we could have various shareholders, not just our the founder directors. Okay then, so what I will do is I'll just have time for one person to share this their answer with me and the rest of the class. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and who is willing to share the screen?
I can.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've used the SAF model. It is suitable for us because it will help us further our goal of installing wind turbines, and hence if we know how to manufacture, we have more greater control.
One second, can you go to the beginning? Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
It's in the beginning
Okay,
itself.
right. Suitability, acceptability, right, okay. It just came to the beginning.
That is the
now.
beginning.
Right, yeah.
Oh, okay. Fine. So suitability, yeah, it's suitable for us because it will help us further our goals, and we'll have more control over the process, that we can, instead of telling our supplier what we need, we can actually manufacture the wind turbine as per our specifications, and we'll have greater control. There is possibility for reducing our cost because of our immense knowledge in it, and thus the proposal is suitable. As far as acceptability is concerned, we have greater returns because of opportunity to have economies of scale. But that is only possible if we know how to manufacture. First, there is high risk because we'll have to develop our own wind turbines, and when we go into manufacturing, we'll make our other suppliers go away because we are a competitor to them now, and thus we lose the business connection. And thus overall the shareholders would reject the idea that we lose our flexibility in providing a good service to our customers if we go into manufacturing, and plus we don't even know how to manufacture. We would have to require and that's where the feasibility comes in, that we would need to invest in the manpower, the resources, maybe build a factory for wind turbines, and thus we would require investment for that. We have low cash balances at present. In the financial statements we just have 4 million of cash, and the only good part is that if as the second part said, that if we decide to go ahead, we'll have to reassure the shareholders that we can fund this investment through taking debt, and we have good borrowing capacity, because debt is only 10% of our capital structure, and any bank would be willing to give it to us because we have 16 years of successful experience here in this business, plus we are profitable, so they'd be willing to finance our proposal. And the second thing is, since we take in debt, there won't be any loss of control for the shareholders. We wouldn't have to go public with such an investment. There won't be any stock market listing or any problem such as that, because I think the debt will be able to utilize for this project alone. So, and we would have to provide investment for this manpower and factory.
Right. So what I would suggest is to do a little bit research on how much it would cost to set up a wind turbine, a manufacturing plant, right? Because that's something we don't know whether it's something that these guys are capable of funding on their own. Yeah. So let us research on that as well a little bit.
Right now they are not capable because they don't have the money for it.
Yeah.
So they are not. It's not acceptable. It's not feasible. So it should not be accepted.
Right. So anything else? Anyone, very briefly, have you guys got any alternative views? Now let me go back to the question. Right. Let me go to the question. What are they asking? Let me have a look. Have you guys got any other views than this?
Yeah, one concern for me is, have we got any contract or tie-up with suppliers till now? Will there be a legal issue if we break the contract and get into manufacturing our own way? That is the only concern other than what Jay has explained.
Right. So would this proposal make sense from a strategic point of view? Is you use the surface model to explain so the positives, negatives, as well as you brought in a good point saying, legally how are we, in that. And you can also come up with alternatives. We don't have to do this on our own. Is there a possibility that we can have a joint venture with others, right? And I think you guys mentioned this at the earlier on in the class, that's something that you can explore as well. If we decide to go ahead, what would be the issues that we would have to consider with respect to information to the stock market or even our shareholders, basically, right? I don't think that was explained well, right? Because we got caught up in the first point a lot. We wrote a lot about that. But the second point clearly states how would you, it doesn't matter whether it's a stock market or we're talking about shareholders, right? We need to talk about that too. You need to consider, what did the shareholders first invest in? They were investing in something, in the consulting, in the kind of business that these guys were operating. By you going into manufacturing, you're going to change the risk profile of the company, right? So is it something acceptable? Are we working on our own? Are we working with a renowned supplier? Then our risk exposure will reduce. Right. So think on those lines. Now, just to recap, we did a similar kind of, I think, a mistake yesterday. So we kind of repeated it again today. Right. So I want you to be conscious of it when you're answering your questions. Right. Clearly identify what questions they're asking, put it down there so that you do not miss it. You need to have that in your answer plan so you will not miss it, right? So any other questions before we wrap up for today?
Well, doesn't this acceptability consider the viewpoints of the shareholders, where we said that the shareholders would reject it because of the high risk involved?
No, that's not enough, Jay, right? So you need to give they're asking 2 points, very clear points. You need to see why, the reasoning behind it. You need to say, you need to give the logic behind the why of just by answering, no, I don't think they will accept, is not sufficient, right? You need to give the returns, their expectations as well. Yeah. So you need to also address the 2 points separately in this case, because they will give you marks for this. If you're bringing things together, remember we went yesterday's class, we said, short short points, small paragraphs, addressed the points very clearly, have headings as well. That will allow you to earn marks.
Okay, so what would be the main issues here? One is risk, one is the expected returns.
Yeah.
So, and then what else? Because what?
Yeah, so one thing that immediately comes to mind is that the risk, the return, and the future, right? The future. It depends how you're going to portray it to your shareholders, how you market it, right? And are you able to provide, now if you're going into this type of heavy investment, are you able to give them dividends or not? Right, that's another point, because the dividends theory comes into play as well, right? We're saying, are we going to be holding back the dividends? That's also fine. That's fine if we are promising, if we are showing them they're going to get a good return. And
okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
So these are the 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay then, thank you. We will meet, I will be there the next week, the Friday and the Saturday, but Kumar will be taking the sessions during the week. Good evening all.
Okay. Where is the Dropbox for this?
I will send you the links.
Okay. And can you send me that YouTube link also?
Correct. I will send you all of them in one mail.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, excuse me, Mahalingam.
Yeah.
Mahalingam here with you.
I will
Do you hear me?
talk to you, Maha. Just give me a minute. I will call you.
Okay.
Okay, see you. Bye
See you.
bye.
Bye.